What's good, people? Check it out. If you take a look at the headlines right now, all you're going to see is that prices are at historic levels, markets are at all-time highs. Take a look, the S&P 500 posts its fifth straight record close this week. But I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what they are not telling you. Come take a look. Up above, you can see the overall market. And yes, we went ahead and pressed for new highs. But more importantly, take a look down below. We've got what we call the RSI index. And we just printed a 76 reading on the RSI, telling us that right now the markets are on what we call overbought territory. That means that prices have been moving too rapid and we could see a cool down very, very soon. But I want to show you guys, because the last time we printed a 76 reading on the RSI, we have to go all the way back to July 2024. And straight after that, the markets went ahead and corrected lower by 10%. Listen, people, what I've just taught you guys is what we call pattern recognition. If you use it correct in the markets, you guys are going to be unstoppable in trading the financial markets. Why? Because you're going to have intel that the majority just don't have. Listen, people, with that intel that you guys have just learned, we're going to take it to the markets next week. I'm going to introduce you guys to a couple of names that will be moving lower, and that gives you guys the opportunity to make some money in the markets. Now, I can hear you guys now. I thought stocks have to move lower for us to make money. No, guys. Listen, in the options market, when prices move lower, you guys can make thousands upon thousands on that. Now, here's the thing. To show you exactly what I mean, let me go ahead and introduce you guys to the team over at the Patreon that knocked out the park with me this week on our put option play. Check it out. We've got none other than Gold Bricks in the building. Went ahead and picked up 4 contracts on our play, ran it up 150%, doing what we do best. Take a look. We've got Darian in the building. Went ahead and clocked in $1,500 in profit on our play, ready for the next one. Take a look. We got Huan. If you guys are regulars on the channel, you most definitely will know that Huan doesn't miss when it comes to the options with us, all right? Went ahead and pulled in a cool $400 in profit. And we got Gurman Gill, one of the new members, shout out in the team, went ahead and ran it up $947, ready for the next one. Listen, people, I need you guys to hop into the team, link down below for that, because when we pull up to the options market, the scenes are going to look like this, right? So listen, we are going to have a cracking week next week. I'm going to make sure that you guys are there with us, all right? That being said, listen, next week in the markets, we are most definitely looking to get to the bag. As I told you guys, got a couple of names that we want to pay attention to because they could be moving lower. Now, next week, going into the markets, guys, we are going to be reactive, not proactive, right? So that is, we see prices moving lower, that gives us the opportunity to run it up in the options market. Let me just say that again for those in the back that didn't hear it the first time. Next week, going into the markets, we are going to be reactive, not proactive. With that being said, it's time to run the first play. Check it out. We got none other than Hood. That is currently $105. Now, this is a name that is very familiar to us around here. Why? Because we own the stock, and we've owned the stock since $40 and taken up to 105. But now it's time to potentially run the option play on Hood. All right. Now, as I told you guys last week, they're starting to pile the pressure on the name. Take a look at the week action, okay? This is what we call a down week. You guys can see we ended the week lower than where we started the week. So you guys can see we're starting to get more sellers in the building than we were buyers. Take a look at the month action. You guys can see that's a very different story. But on the week action, we can start to see what we call exhaustion, a loss of excitement in the name. And when we start to see that, that should just ring alarm bells. There's time to move to the option chain, because that's just money ringing. All right, so take a look. Let's jump to the option chain on Hood. Let me show you guys around. I want you guys to get very, very familiar with what you're seeing right here, because this is where the magic happens. All right. Now, if we're looking at put options, we want to be looking at strike prices below the current stock price. So we've got some strike prices here. I want to show you guys a little something. All right, so take a look at these 101s on the strike. You guys can see these are going for around 320. The hundreds are going for around 280. Now, what you guys should be thinking right now is that these options look a little bit expensive. I'm sure I've seen options where the stock price was around 100 and the options were much less than what we're seeing right now. Okay, you guys are most certainly correct. Right now, we are in what we call earnings season. Okay, so that means that we have to have our wits about us in the options market. Why? Because in the run up to earnings, option prices get elevated, they increase. Robinhood has got its earnings slap bang in the middle of next week on Wednesday. So, of course, in the run up to that, the option prices are going to be elevated. Normally, Hood options will be going for around $100 for the at the monies. Now they're double. Okay, now they're 75% more than they are right now. So that means that going into markets next week, you may want to wait for those earnings to be delivered. Okay, so you may want to delay any actions to the second part of the week, guys. This is the kind of intel that's going to make you guys prosperous in the options market. All right, so this is one thing I want you guys to pay attention to in the thick of earnings season. Before you jump into an option play, just have a quick check on when the earnings are. Okay, are we pre-earnings or are we post-earnings? Because post-earnings, something very different happens. I'm going to show you guys that. But that being said, we still got our eyes peeled on Hood because we know they're slamming the pressure on this. That being said, we see any breaks of structure. We see this thing moving below $100. Okay, we know they're sending this down comfortably into the 90s, and they may be very well getting ready to do that after earnings. Listen, guys, if you guys are excited about this one, you let me know down below. That being said, let's hop to the next one because I've got a banger for you. Take a look. We've got none other than Google, another one that is so familiar to us around here, currently standing $194. Listen, we own the stock. We've owned the stock since 160, and we're going to continue to own the stock as it moves its way to $130 this year. All right, let me say that again before it moves, because it's going to move its way to $230 this year. But along its journey, it's going to present us the opportunities to run it up in the call options and run it down in the put options. Right now, Hood is just after earnings, okay? I'm going to show you guys the option chain in a minute, but take a look at the action post earnings. You guys can see they pushed this up comfortably to the $198 level. And now at the end of the week, they're going ahead and pushed it back down to the 193s. Okay, so there could be pressure on this next week. They could easily send this back into the high 180s. Okay, so we could see what we call a post earnings sell-off. Remember, going into next week, remind me, guys, what are we going to be? Reactive. Okay, so if we start to see pressure in the name, we start to see them moving this lower, they're going to pile on the heat with the rest of the market. Okay, so this is why this is a name that we are potentially getting geared up for next week in the markets. Right, that being said, as always, let me go ahead and show you guys the option chain on Google. Okay, now take a look at some of these option prices. Look at the 192.5s, look at the 190s. You guys can see going for $200, going for $117. You guys can see this is way lower than the options we were seeing on Hood. Why? Because this has gone through what we call earnings crush, earnings IV crush. Okay, so after earnings, the prices of options drop dramatically. Now, after earnings, this is why we love getting into options just after they've delivered earnings. Why? Because the option prices are cheaper. That presents us the opportunity to make even more in the options market. You guys know when we pull up to the options market, we're delivering nothing less than 100%. So during this post earnings IV crush, we're delivering nothing less than 200%. Okay, because the option prices are cheaper. So Google's another one that we're going to have our eyes peeled on. All right, and if we do run it up, best believe the very next move is going to be call options as they send it back into the 200s. Okay, but that's a story for another day. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, because I've got another banger for you, none other than on Semiconductor, $57. Now, this might be an unfamiliar one to you guys. Good, because sometimes, all right, some of the best plays are the ones that you don't know about. When it comes to the semiconductor index, it's been on absolute fire for the last couple of months, but now we're entering an environment where we could be seeing some fragility, some exhaustion, and some profit taking place. Now, who's going to lead the charge if we are to see profit takers? Some of the unknown names, some of the names that haven't got the love, the affection some of the big dogs in the space have, like Nvidia, like AMD. All right, and this is one of those names, so they could very easily send this into the 50s, especially because on the week we've just had, this was a down week, and on the week we've just had, they've broken some structure. Right, that $60 level has now been obliterated. That just leaves space for this to move down to the low 50s. Right, let me go ahead and show you guys the option chain on Semiconductor. Take a look. You guys can see again, these are going for relatively cheap, but reminder, during this earnings season phase, we all have our wits about us before we enter into any option. What we do, and we are checking when the earnings is, And most likely what we're doing is we're looking to benefit off lower option prices right after their earnings. Okay, this is going to give us the opportunity to run it up 100% here, 200% there during this very exciting phase that's taking place in the markets right now. All right, got one more for you guys in the tank. Right, take a look. We've got MU currently standing 111 bucks on the week. You can see it's a down week for the play. On the month, you can see it's a down month for the play. Listen, they're going to continue to pile on the heat on the name. This is a name I know very well. When they're pushing this higher, they're pushing this higher. When they're pushing this lower, they are most certainly pushing this lower, right? So this gives us another opportunity to potentially run it lower if we are to see some further weakness. Remember, we are capitalizing on reactivity next week in the markets, right? Let me go ahead and just show you guys the MU option chain. Take a look. You guys can see these 111s, 110s going for around that $200 range. Okay, listen, next week in the market is going to be a very exciting week for all of us off the back of a spectacular week that it was this week. Listen, if you're in the team, you let them know how we did, because it was absolute scenes in the building for the whole team. Hundreds of us ran it up, right? Collectively made about over 100 grand on our Mara put option play this week. And listen, we are taking that energy, we're taking that momentum straight into the markets next week to do what we do best. All right, can't wait to see you guys there. That's the video for today. You guys drop me down your comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.